In 2026, most people won't lose money because of the market. They'll lose because they don't understand how they think. Not emotionally, not strategically, but structurally. And that difference is where everything breaks. We are living in one of the most advanced financial environments in history. AI is everywhere. Data is everywhere. Opportunities are everywhere. Information has never been more accessible. And yet, clarity has never been more rare. More people are confused than ever. They overtrade. They panic. They chase signals. They react to noise, instead of understanding the system. And slowly, without realizing it, they destroy their own portfolio. Not in one big mistake, but through a series of small, uncontrolled decisions. 400 years ago, a samurai named Miyamoto Musashi faced a different kind of battlefield. No charts, no algorithms, no market volatility. But the principle he mastered is exactly what modern investors are missing today. In this video, you'll learn how a samurai mindset can stabilize your decisions, protect your capital, and help you survive the chaos of modern markets. We often think financial failure comes from bad strategies, but that's not true. It comes from unstable behavior. Right now, we are not in a market crisis. We are in a decision-making crisis. Let me show you what that looks like. You see your portfolio drop 5%. You tell yourself, it's normal. Then 10%. You start to feel uncomfortable. Then 20%. Now you're not thinking clearly anymore. You're reacting. You sell. Or worse, you panic, buy something else to recover. People don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they react too fast. They see red, they panic. They see green, they chase. And over time, they lose control. This is what I call silent erosion. Not a crash, but a slow breakdown of discipline. A breakdown of clarity. A breakdown of identity. And the dangerous part is, you don't notice it until your results collapse. So the real question is not, how do I beat the market? But, how do I stop destroying myself inside the market? Pause for a moment. Think about your last few decisions in the market. Were they planned? Or were they reactions? Not what you told yourself, but what actually happened. Because the difference between the two is where most people start losing control. Musashi approached combat with a system. Not just technique, but structure. A complete operating system. And this is exactly what most investors are missing. They have tools. They have information. But they don't have structure. Musashi's system can be broken into 3 layers. Zen and Dao. Qi is execution. What you do. How you act. How you move. In investing, this is your trades. Your entries. Your exits. Xin is psychological strength. How you respond under pressure. How you handle loss. How you stay stable when everything around you is unstable. And Dao is your direction. Your long-term strategy. Your purpose. Your guiding principle. This is what tells you why you are in the market in the first place. Most people try to fix their money problems at the surface. They change indicators. They change strategies. They change assets. But real control only happens when all 3 layers align. Let's start with Qi. Execution. This is where most people think they are strong. But this is actually where they fail the most. Because they confuse activity with progress. They trade more. They check charts more. They consume more information. But they don't improve outcomes. Let me give you a simple example. An average investor might make 10 to 20 decisions a day. Checking charts. Entering trades. Exiting early. Re-entering again. Feels productive. But in reality, each decision increases the chance of error. High-level investors do the opposite. They simplify everything. They reduce complexity. They focus on fewer decisions, not more. In reality, most successful investors operate with just a few core actions. What to buy, when to stop. That's it. No noise, no distraction. Because every extra decision doesn't increase profit. It increases risk. Execution is not about doing more. It's about eliminating what doesn't matter and protecting your capital from unnecessary mistakes. Now ask yourself this. How many decisions do you make in a single day? Checking charts, reading news, looking for signals. And how many of those decisions actually improve your outcome? Because sometimes, doing less isn't a weakness. It's precision. There is a hidden cost most people ignore. Decision fatigue. Every time you switch focus, you weaken your ability to think clearly. And in finance, unclear thinking is expensive. Imagine trying to make a critical decision after checking 15 charts, scrolling through news, and reading conflicting opinions. At that point, you're not thinking, you're reacting. So instead of doing 10 things poorly, top performers do 3 things well. They define their most important actions, and they commit fully. 1 trade, 1 decision, 1 focus. This is not productivity advice. This is survival strategy. Because in high-pressure environments, clarity beats speed every single time. And the investors who survive are not the fastest. They are the most consistent. Now we move to Xian, your internal state. Because no strategy works if your mind collapses under pressure. The market doesn't just test your knowledge. It tests your identity. When your portfolio drops, you don't just lose money. You lose confidence. You lose certainty. You start questioning everything. Your system, your decisions, your future. And that's when most people break. But high-level investors think differently. They don't ask, how do I avoid pain? Because pain is unavoidable. Instead they ask, how do I structure it? They break it down. What can I control? What is temporary? What is actually important? For example, a market drop might feel catastrophic, but structurally, it's just volatility. This creates distance, and that distance is what allows you to stay rational, while everyone else reacts emotionally. And in markets, rational thinking is a competitive advantage. And this is exactly where most money is lost. Not because people don't understand the market, but because they lose control at the worst possible moment. They don't panic when things are small. They panic when it matters most, when the position is bigger, when the loss feels real, when the pressure builds. And that's when decisions stop being logical and start becoming emotional. In real markets, this is where portfolios break, not from bad strategies, but from unstable behavior. And once that happens, recovery becomes much harder than prevention. Inside every investor, there is pressure, fear, greed, anxiety, and most people try to suppress it. They try to ignore it. They pretend it's not there. But that doesn't work, because emotion doesn't disappear. It accumulates, and eventually, it explodes. You see it in bad trades. You see it in overreactions. You see it in regret, buying too late, selling too early, changing strategy at the worst possible moment. So instead of suppressing emotion, you need to observe it. When you feel fear, pause and name it. When you feel greed, recognize it. When you feel urgency, question it. Because once you understand it, you reduce its power. And when emotion loses control, decision quality improves. That's how you stay in the game long enough to win. Now we reach the highest level. Doubt. Direction. Most people believe success comes from action. Doing more. Moving faster. Reacting quicker. But in reality, it often comes from restraint. The best investors don't act more. They act better. They wait. They observe. They conserve energy. Because not every opportunity is worth taking. And not every moment requires action. Think about this. Most losses don't come from missed opportunities. They come from unnecessary decisions. From trades that didn't need to happen. From reactions that didn't need to exist. This is what Musashi understood. The battle is won before the sword is even drawn. And in finance, the same rule applies. If your thinking is clear, your actions will be precise, and your results will follow. Step back for a second. If nothing changed, would your current way of thinking still work 5 years from now? Not just in good markets, but in difficult ones. Because your future results are already being shaped by how you think today. If you study the most successful investors, you'll notice something surprising. They don't win every trade. They don't predict perfectly. They don't always enter at the best time. But they stay consistent. They stay controlled. They stay disciplined. And over time, that compounds. Let's make this practical. If you avoid just a few major mistakes, your portfolio doesn't need to outperform. It just needs to survive. Because wealth is not built from one perfect decision. It's built from thousands of stable ones. From decisions where you didn't panic. From moments where you didn't overreact. From times where you simply stayed consistent. So the real strategy is simple. Protect your capital. Control your behavior. And stay in the game long enough for the math to work in your favor. In this market, you are either reacting or operating. The ones who react burn out. They chase signals. They follow noise. They lose control. The ones who operate build wealth. They follow structure. They stay consistent. They trust their system. So sharpen your execution. Stabilize your mind. And align your direction. Because in the end, the real battle is not in the market. It's inside you. And if you made it this far, you already think differently. Most people don't stay long enough to understand. But the ones who do are the ones who build real wealth. Stay consistent, and you'll see the difference.